I've had a little bit of a redesign in this area, and I've redesigned this area that many times I've lost count. But if I'm not happy with something, I will keep going at it until I realise what the problem is. And the first redesign of it, or the first major redesign of it, was when I put this donkey water drinker in there and that well pump. I've had a bit of a rethink, and a few ideas have popped into my head, and I've finally settled on this. Well, I think I've finally settled on this. Who knows? You know what I'm like. So what I've added, firstly, is this copper. And it's quite a deep copper, this one. It's one of the deepest coppers I've had. They're not usually that deep. And a copper is used, or was used, many years ago when people had to do their washing outside in the shed. They used to put a bit of a flame underneath that, and it would heat the water up, and then they would wash the clothes or whatever else. So that was the first thing to go in, and I thought it worked straight away, which is good. One of the downsides to this at the moment, and it is going to change, is that it's quite deep, and little birds can drown in this sort of sized container. So what I'm going to do, I'll show you this before I carry on, is we've got these old potato sieves. So the bottom one of those two is the one I'm going to use. I'm going to cut that wire off because it's too big to go in here, and then I'm going to gently force that just under the surface of the water, so that should any birds etc fall in there, they've got a good chance of getting back out without a problem. Now that little fountain was working 5 minutes ago, but typically when I start recording it stops, and it looks quite effective. Quite like it. So that was one of the first things I did. The other thing I've put in is this old millstone. Now this millstone was part of another millstone further down the garden, and that one I used to great effect, and this one has just been sat around ever since then, and I just couldn't work out what to do with it. And finally, this is what I've settled on. So I've simply placed it onto the soil. Well, I've dug a little bit of a plateau for it to sit on, and then I've got these old bricks and done that almost clock face look, which I think really, really works. I'm very happy with that, actually. I've also got hold of some more York stone and put it here, just as a kind of a nod to a path. It's not really a path because it's only going to that section there, but it's just part of the feature. So I quite like that. It looks really good. Well, I think it does. I don't know what you think. The other thing I've done is finally settled on putting these two here, and I think they really work now. These are old gramophone speakers that I bought probably 4 years ago, and at the time there was 3 available, but by the time I'd contacted them they'd sold one, and so I ended up with 2. I could really do with a third one, and these are copper ones. I've been looking, can't find any at the moment. I'm sure at some point another one will come up. The reason I want another one is because 3s, 5s and 7s works best, always does. And it'll be no exception in this case, and I can just imagine one more of those there would look brilliant. Now from this angle it looks absolutely fantastic. This is the old wrought iron fence that I actually had made, which was a bit ridiculous really. I paid an absolute arm and a leg for that. And I shouldn't have done. I got a bit carried away at the time, bought that, had it made rather, and on the internet there were far cheaper options. Next to it is this gate. This gate was originally used in this area actually. In fact, it was where the black gate is there. That's where it was originally when I put it in. But I decided it might look good as a kickback fence there, which it does. If I'm honest, it really does. So that looks really nice, quite happy with that. Now, inevitably, when you do this sort of an area, there's going to be changes within the planting, and there was in this. Although I've already got some really nice plants in this area, 1 or 2 of them needed a little bit of adjustment. And I'm pretty good at doing that. I'm doing it all the time, actually. And you shouldn't be afraid of doing that either. If the plant's not working, if it's not in the right area, just move it. There are certain times of the year when it's good not to move them, but because we're getting so much rain just lately, I have no fear at all in moving any of these plants, and that's what I've done. Now the fountain decides to start sprinkling, and it looks good. It does get higher than that. It's because there's not much sunlight on it at the moment. Anyway, going to the planting. This is Euonymus elatus compactus, and it goes a really deep red in autumn, and it's a wonderful small shrub. That originally was where those stones are, and I decided I needed to move it because I had the idea of putting almost a little footpath in there, which I've obviously done. I've put it there. Now behind it, there's Eupatorium purpureum, and my own Skinny Mini. And that's looking really good. I think we're going to have another good year for my Eupatoriums. They're looking wonderful. And then I moved, and I did this because I thought it would be better. I moved the plant that you can see at the back there. Let me point to it, that one there, and that's Filipendula rubra venusta. Look it up on the internet and you'll see it as an almost candy floss type flower, and it's wonderful. Its only failing is it'll spread around a little bit. So I moved it from roughly where that euphorbia is, that one there. I sort of swapped them round because I will inevitably have to control that Filipendula. Now that euphorbia is absolutely wonderful, and it's a seedling. And I picked it out of the garden. I don't collect every seedling of the euphorbias that I find because I have rather a lot of euphorbias in this garden. So as you can imagine, they're always cross-pollinating and producing nice offspring, or sometimes producing nice offspring, as this one did. And I like this one because it's got a lovely blue look about it, and it's got some red stems, which are really nice, really complementary. I think that that's actually come off of one called Black Pearl, Euphorbia Black Pearl. And it is a Wolfenii type, so it's not going to get massive, but it will probably get 2 or 3 foot. And over time, that's going to look really nice in there. Now, the story behind that euphorbia was, last year I had a garden opening, and a lady asked whether she could buy that one, and it was up for sale. And I did say to her at the time, I put her off of it because at the time it was so small, and it actually looked like one called Whistleberry Garnet. The one I've talked about that is a little bit spready. And I didn't want to lie to her and say it would be okay because I didn't know if it would. So I told her it probably wouldn't be a good buy. So she never bought it. And that's a bit of good luck on my part. And I'm pleased she didn't, because it's turning into something wonderful, as you can see. Now, to the left of that, let's go back for some sort of context on that. To the left of that, we've got this bamboo. Now, not 100% sure what it is. I know it's a Fargesia, and I think it's an umbrella type, the umbrella type of bamboo. I got that from a house where we was working, where it had basically been abandoned, left in its pot. So I took it out of its pot, planted it in here. Now, if you'd have seen this border at the weekend, that bamboo was actually about 1.5 foot closer to me. And I decided it was just too close. I needed it to push back, especially for what I was doing in this area. And that's just what I've done, pushed it back. And it looks way better now. Now, to the left of that bamboo, I've got a Nyphophia uvaria nobilis, a massive, massive Nyphophia that goes quite a way up in the air, actually. It probably reaches 7 or 8 foot. And it has the brightest orange flower that you probably see. And you can see it from anywhere in this garden. It stands out a mile, and it's wonderful. I moved that at the end of last year because it was simply in the wrong place. Again, it was in the same border. It was still in this border, but more over that way. And it needed moving, as plants do. Remember, when I tell you to overplant, remember that some of them are sacrificial plants. So by that, I mean we're going to take some of them out, or we're going to get rid, or simply move them to another border or somewhere else in that border, which I've done here. So that looks better now, so that's going to be a lot better. It is a big plant, so I've given it plenty of space. Now, you'd think it would struggle there because it's behind a fence, so it gets shade naturally, but the sun does hit that section there because it's summer, and when it's high in the sky, it hits that section anyway, and once the flower goes up, the flower will be in sun, so there's not going to be a problem there. Now this one here is another aster, and it's what they call a New England aster. Oh, someone's a bit horny. We've got the label here, so I'm going to show you the label. There you go. An attractive variety with pure white, yellow scented daisy flowers on tall stems in autumn. Mildew resistant, which is why I like it. Now last year there was only 2 stems on that. This year there's lots more. Hell of a lot more. So hopefully we're going to get a good show from that. And here we've got a little geranium. Not sure what the name is, but not too worried about that. To the left of that we have got this. And this is one of the heleniums. So this is a great helenium, and I think I finally found out what it's called. I'm going to have to put that on screen because as I'm filming this, I've completely forgot what it is. It's going to look wonderful. Now just to the back of that, and I left this here because it's been growing here forever really, and it grows all over the garden, this particular one. And we'll just take a look at the flowers first. Look at those flowers. They hang absolutely beautifully. I love it. I absolutely love it. And that's a good shady type plant, that. But you've got to be careful because it will spread all over. And this plant is a polygonotum. A wonderful plant. And although it can be quite successful, and by that I mean it can go everywhere, I still think it's worth having. As you can see through that, it just looks great. And what else have we got in here? We've got a little podophyllum I've just spotted. Now, I thought this one was spotty dotty, but it must be just the ordinary type. And it's not looking great at the moment because I've finally exposed it. It was hidden behind a Lamprophysis hyaneronimi, which is the grass that was here less than 2 days ago. I've now moved that to another part of the garden because I like it, and it wasn't going to work here long term. It was only a temporary move anyway, and that was one of the sacrificial plants. Now, this is an elder, and it's a cracking elder actually, and let's try and show you the colour. So this is Sambucus serenade, a wonderful elder that's supposedly quite upright and quite tight in its growth pattern, so we shall see, because I've never had this one before. So that's really nice, and that's an elder. Hopefully it will be a almost like black tower, hopefully, in its growth, and that should remain skinny, hopefully, touch wood. Now behind here, and I really do like this variegated form. I'm not a big fan of variegated plants, and I have very minimal in this garden, but this one's here is a Brunera macrophylla, and it's called Dawson's White. This really needs quite a deep shade because it is prone to burn in the sun. And if you look towards the back, I'm not going to get too close, but if you look on the 2 right-hand side ones there, you can see they've been burnt. I moved it from another part of the garden where it got burnt, and then I moved it here because I thought this would suit it better. Now, it has been attacked. I'm not sure whether that's slugs or whether that's... Yeah, I'm just looking at one of the leaves. It is slugs. That is slugs. So hopefully here they won't find it, and, well, not for the moment anyway, and hopefully that should start growing. Now, it has some quite big leaves, that one. It really does. And it's lovely when it gets going. Definitely worth getting. Now at the back there, we've got a Millennia, and that's a Caerulea, subspecies Arundinacea, and this one is Carl Forster. Now remember, if it's got the name Arundinacea with it, it means it's going to be a tall one. And that one is. And it's wonderful. I love it. So I look forward to the seed heads coming up. I've got another one here. Another Millennia there. Now I can't remember where I bought this one from. And I've looked it up online and I cannot find any reference at all to this one. So either the person I bought it from has found it as a seedling and named it themselves, or it's just not described in any internet. Another Millennia, Caerulea, subspecies Arundinacea, and it's called Storm Cloud. And it is a really nice one, to be honest. In fact, this year, that's the best it's been. In front of that, we've got this, and I just love this. This is Sanguisorba Hacu sinensis, and it's called Lilac Squirrel, and it has the most pink sort of foxtail flowers of any plant, and it's wonderful. They really are nice. If you just got the straight Hacusinensis, they're quite nice, but lilac squirrel is a pretty good cultivar. And if you've got some sort of a jungly garden, this would actually do quite well for you. It'll look quite good in that situation because it looks very jungly. So we've got one or two other plants in here. This is another helenium. This one's called Butterpat. It has a yellow flower, as you can imagine, but it's quite small. In fact, I wouldn't think that'll get much higher than 6 inches, 7 inches higher than it is at the moment. Very small one, but very nice indeed. So that's wonderful. Then here we've got some black mondo grass, as it's called, and that's Ophiopogon planiscarpus nigrescens. Bit of a mouthful. I will put it on the screen for you, but quite a popular and quite a common grass, or people think it's a grass. It's actually a lily, and there's tiny little purple flowers when they do finally come out, but we still call it a grass because it's grass-like, isn't it? And it is nice. It's lovely. Don't be put off by the fact that it's quite popular. So this is Stachyus byzantina, and it's called Helen von Stein. Now, I love this type of leaf on it, and the ordinary Stachyus, which a lot of people will know as big ears, is a lovely cultivar, more silver than this one, and I happen to like this one. But one thing it's doing, and I've noticed it on other people's, is it has this problem, and that is quite obvious. Now, all the books will tell you to get it into some sort of a section where it gets the air to blow through it, so it won't get this type of disease. Believe me, I've had this in several areas. All should be fine for it, but all of them have created this. So I think there's a problem with the actual plant itself. It's a real shame because it is really a good one. I love it. So I'm going to put up with that. That's life. Let's live with it. So we'll move to this side now, and I'm happy to see that Digitalis purpureas are doing really well this year. They're already out. I reckon they're 2-3 weeks earlier than they are usually up at Grassy Bottom. And most of them are coming out now. And I've got quite a few different ones of these. They're not as tall as they were last year. I had some massive ones last year. But remember, what we find in the plant world is that one year you'll have a good year. The second year it'll be rubbish. And this is no exception by the look of it, because they're smaller than they were last year. Now let's just whip you over to this border, the half shady border, and show you this one. This is a lovely one. And I just allow them to freely sow around the garden, and this one is really nice, or turning out to be really nice. And there's another one to the left of it. Don't know what colour that is going to be. It should be a purple colour, judging by the stem, but who knows. Anyway, I just wanted to show you that comparison to that one as to the other one, which is purple. It's wonderful. I love it. Here I've got a grass that's new to me, or was new to me last year, and it's a Miscanthus giganteus type, and it's called Megadot. It's supposed to have a little dot. It's supposed to be a zebra type grass. As of yet, I'm seeing no signs of the Megadot that it's supposedly got. There's not one on it at the moment. So I'm going to hold my thoughts on that for the moment, and we will do an update of that as it gets taller, because it's still early in the season, and some of these types of grasses, the zebra grasses, do require quite a bit of sun to get those stripes going better or quicker, but we shall see. So that brings me to this one at the back of it, and I absolutely love this. This is an Achillea. It's just about to start flowering, as you can see from that seed head there, or that flower cluster. It's not out yet, it's not open. Now this is a white form, slightly creamy white, well, greeny white really, if memory serves me right. So it's cracking, it's a cracking Achillea, and it's called Achillea chrysocoma grandiflora. The grandiflora referring to the flowers. They get quite big, and it's wonderful. I love everything about this plant from the moment it comes up. It's just wonderful. Most people have these named varietal types of Achillea. I have that one, which is less common. So if you're looking for something a little bit less common, that'd be the one to go for. So this is quite a nice well, I guess it's a small tree really, or a large shrub. Probably reach 15 foot over its lifetime. Maybe taller, who knows again. But what I like about this one is these leaves, and they are like that from the word go. It has a lovely autumnal colour as well. A reddy colour, a really nice red colour, so it's really nice. Now this is a Perotia, and it's called Perotia persica Persian Spire. So as you can imagine from that, it's going to be a tall and skinny one, which should fit in really nicely. And now over time I may have to do some pruning to that. It is a multi-stemmed shrub, but I may have to still prune some of it to keep it a tighter shrub for this particular area. But time will tell on that one. Now let's have a look. So I've nearly described all the plants. I didn't mean to. I wanted you really to see this area. But might as well show you all the plants while we're at it. And this is one that I got last week, and it's a Phyllictrum. And it's Phyllictrum Aquilegia folia black stockings. And then this, which is Kathy's favourite flower or plant. And this is Erigeron carvinskianus. And it's a beauty. I absolutely love this one. It has more pinkish cerise flowers as well as the season goes on, and it's very successful at spreading itself around. Here's a tiny plant that I found not so long ago, and I've popped that one in between those two bricks, and that should look good. Over time, that wants to spread around, and I will let it spread around. I will control it, don't get me wrong. I will control it, but I will allow it to do some spreading. So I'm very happy with this area. I love it. I think it's working. And it's almost a little show garden in its own right, this particular bit. But I just wanted to show you what you can create in, what would that be? Let's have a look. 6, 12, probably 15 foot wide by about 8 foot deep. And this is what you can create should you wish to. And hopefully this will have inspired one or two of you. And it's not that hard to do. Just a little bit of thinking about and a bit of executing, and this is what you can achieve. Now, as I'm looking at this tree, I forgot to describe this one. This is a sorbus called Scalaris, and it has the most orange leaf that you'll get in any tree as we approach autumn, and it's wonderful, and it's flowering lovely this year. The flowers have gone over, and it will produce berries. I can't remember if they're orange or they're yellow. I can't remember. I will put that on screen when I've looked it up, but it's looking great. So everything's working now. And this is really viewed from this area here. And we're under the pergola here, as you can see. And this is where we sit. So it's another seating area. And I take lots of time sitting here. Well, not all the time, actually, to be quite honest. I don't sit here very often, or not often enough. And that's the view we get. And I love it, as I keep saying. I love everything, don't I? Let's face it. So there you go. Another little feature for you. Hopefully some of you will make some comments on that. Tell me what you think. See if you like it. Or if you don't like it. Either way, it'd be nice to get your comments. Okay, I'll talk to you on the next one. Ta-da.